This 32 Ford 3-window coupe might be the ultimate estate sale find. This car has drag racing history dating back to 1968. It had a big block Chevy in it, and it was known for its wheel stands. And we're going to take a look at this car's excellent condition today and look at some of the pictures of this thing in action back in the 60s and early 70s. It's an iconic hot rod, an iconic drag car, and it recently found a new home after about 50 years in storage. So this car was originally the brainchild of brothers Bud and Bob Heineman and Ron Jordan. They put their heads together to create a killer drag car in 1968. In fact, June 15th of 1968 is when the lettering was applied on this car, officially naming it the Judge. And the reason we know that is because of a court case where Bud Heineman went up against General Motors because of the use of the name the Judge. Now, you probably are familiar with the GTO, the Judge, and this 32 Ford was also named the Judge. A very interesting detail here is that June 15th is when the Judge was lettered on this 32 Ford, and July 19th of 1968 is when Pontiac named the GTO package the Judge. So an odd coincidence here led to a legal case, but I'm glad that happened because some of these details are listed here in this case. So we see there in 1968, that's when this car really gained its identity, and that's when this car got real serious. So this car ran a 427 based big block Chevy, tunnel ram, and 2 4s. It was the ultimate drag car of the late 60s. You can also see that the ride height was super high. This was a very aggressive ride height, even for a gasser in the 1960s. And the big block Chevy was sitting way up in the air, and this thing was known for its wheel stands because of that weight transfer. So this car went from the blue paint job to the two-tone orange and white paint job, and that's when everything transitioned from the Judge to King Speed Shop. Now that was a joint effort from Bud Heineman and Ron Jordan. They owned this speed shop together, and they had a tremendous team of drag cars that were sponsored by King Speed Shop. You can see in some of these promotional pictures, all the cars had matching paint jobs, they had matching lettering. This was a top-of-the-line operation. They had a really good business model going, they were making good money, they were going out and racing. They were pretty much living the dream in the 60s and early 70s. The King Speed Shop was based out of Lansing, Illinois, but these guys raced all over the place. They raced in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin. Anywhere there was a good paying race, these guys went and represented with this car and the other team cars. So this 32 Ford became known for its great appearance and its great performance. It ran in the B gas class most of the time, although you will see some pictures of it here listed in C altered. Now, I'm not sure if the different combination there or if it was just a different rules package for the track they were running at, but that was pretty common back in the day for guys to switch from gas class to altered class. You can see in the later pictures of this car that they really had the nose down low, which was very common. A lot of the gassers of the 60s got lowered down in the early 70s just to be more aerodynamic. By this point, tire technology had changed a lot, and everybody's idea of weight transfer had changed a lot. So putting the nose down on the ground was a very common thing, and we can see it here. Even though the paint job is still the same and the wheels and tires are still the same, the ride height has changed, and it looks like it has a little bit lower profile intake manifold on it, maybe a couple of Dominators up there. I can't really tell from this picture, but you can see some things are changing with this race car. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and feel free to leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and you'll see more of my videos in the future. So by 1974, this car had sort of run its course, and a guy who worked at King Speed Shop ended up buying it from Bud, and he had intentions of turning this thing into a street rod. So he had a local guy strip it down and repaint it in candy apple red, and the whole idea here was to go out to rod runs and car shows with this thing. And that was a very popular thing to do, was take an old, sort of outdated drag car and put it on the street. And as I got to digging for old pictures of this car, I actually found 2 pictures of it in this configuration. I was very shocked because I just assumed that this configuration didn't see the light of day, but it did. You can see it here in 2 different pictures racing at US 30 drag strip, and you can see it had lettering on the cowl It had lettering on the door and lettering on the quarter panel. So a cool thing that happened is when this car was purchased, it actually came a little bit closer to me. It's now in Kentucky, and I was able to go see it in person and get some real nice video of it so you can see some of the details that remain on this car. This thing is almost entirely unchanged aside from the engine and transmission being removed, and I'll show you some of the details here. So first off, you can see that candy apple red paint is still shining. Of course, it's got a little bit of dirt on it, but this thing would shine up beautifully. It's been stored indoors for all this time. It's immaculate. The body is perfect on this car. Now you can see where there was some lettering on the driver's side over here. You can see it on the quarter panel where they've rubbed it off, but it's actually affected the paint a little bit. You can see a little spot on the door as well, but you can see the fenders, the running boards, the hood, the grill shell, every piece of this thing came with the purchase, and it even came with a set of chrome big block Chevy headers that have the mufflers still attached to them, exactly what this car ran back in the 1970s. And just looking at the suspension and the steering and the frame on this car, I mean, it was a professionally built piece. You can see the chrome work is still hanging in there. It's a little bit weak, but it's still there. The chrome front axle, you can see it has coilovers on the front with adjustable mounts, and they've got it pretty low in the front. As you'll see in the old pictures, this thing went from sky high in the front to down and dirty in the front, and that's just a transformation that happened from the 60s to the 70s. And you can see it still has the rocket wheels that it had for all those years. It's still rolling on those same wheels, probably the same tires that it had back in the day. And you can see it has some chrome radius rods on the front. Those are made out of round tubing, and you can see even that has adjustable mounts so that they could raise and lower the ride height and keep the geometry the same. And we'll see that it's got a rack and pinion steering setup, which I'm not so sure that that was part of the original recipe on this thing. Rack and pinion wasn't really a thing in the 60s, and honestly it was barely a thing in the 70s. But the Pintos and Mustang IIs had rack and pinion, and that became a very popular upgrade for street rods, and I would imagine that happened in the last stages of this car's life. Underneath the back, it's got an Oldsmobile rear end, and you can see that it has been chrome plated. You can see it's got custom ladder bar mounts hanging underneath that housing, and those go up to some custom mounts on the frame. And you'll see those are made out of square tubing. They're also chrome plated, and we've got some chrome shocks on the back and parallel leaf springs. Now this car would have originally had a single transverse leaf spring. You saw the pictures of this car way up on the back bumper, so eventually they got the car tamed down. You can see through the years they changed the stance. They got the front end way down, and they put those big old 1432 slicks on the back with the rocket wheels, which are still there. It's unbelievable how untouched this car is. And when we open the door, it's even more special because it has a beautiful white vinyl interior. You can see the pleated edges, the buttons, everything about this is 1960s and 70s. And you'll see the door panels are finished out. It has chrome garnish moldings. It's got that beautiful white roll cage in there. Full roll cage, not just a little 3-point bar behind the seat. This thing had full cage, which was unusual back in the day. And you'll see that it's got a full assortment of gauges, Stewart Warner, it's got a sun tack, and then we'll see it has another tack up on the A-pillar. That's actually a vintage autometer tack, and we'll see underneath the dash it has a wiring harness, it has fuses, and it even has an autometer rev box there. That's all really unusual stuff for back in the day. Most of these things were much more crude than this. We'll also see underneath the dash, it's got chrome swing pedals. It still has the mechanical clutch linkage hanging off of that pedal. Still got a single pop master cylinder that's hooked up to that brake pedal, and you'll see that it still has a gas pedal in here too. It's got a chrome steering column, a superior 3-spoke wheel. I mean, this thing was top of the line in the 70s. Now, one extremely cool detail I noticed underneath the seat is this thing has a bar that goes underneath the seat that's connected to the roll bar, and it has a very unusual seat mount. This kind of looks like a vintage cafeteria seat mount. It's chrome, it's got custom mounts, and then you see it's got that square plate that the seat mounts to. This is a super trick idea, and it just looks super cool and clean underneath these custom bucket seats. You'll see also underneath the bucket seats, there's some other stuff. You got some little 32 Ford toy cars, and another Sun tack laying under there. And then in between the seats is a vintage Craig Pioneer 8-track player. So as we back up and take a good look at this thing, just look at that stance. This thing is absolutely killer with those giant slicks on the back, the rocket wheels, the candy apple paint. I mean, it's got a really cool look just like it is. Whether it's got the fenders hanging on it or the fenders off of it like we're looking at here. I mean, this is just a super cool 32 Ford 3-window coupe. It's an iconic hot rod. It's an old drag car. This thing has tons of cool history, and it was found and bought at an estate sale. I don't think you can ask for a much better situation than this. Only thing I wish is that I'd been there to buy it. But I am confident this car is going to a good home, and it's gonna be put back together in a way that does this car justice. This is a very cool piece of drag racing history. This car was photographed many, many times. It was even used to make a child's puzzle, which I'm showing to you here. Just so many cool pieces of King Speed Shop memorabilia out there, from business cards to promotional materials. This car was the flagship of the King Speed Shop. So to see that it's still living, that's amazing. To see that somebody's going to put it back together, that's even better.